Ready?
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of The Man Shreks. I'm one of the hosts, JJ Manshrek.
And I am your favorite host, Sarah Manshrek.
This is true. I mean, I think everybody knows this.
Yeah.
All right, so we're a little sleepy. We're just moving a little slowly.
We're. It's been a long day.
Weekend. Time. Life.
As parents of 4 children, it's been a long, several years.
I love it, but yes.
Oh, it's good. It's just exhausting.
It is. And why do we always seem to record this at night? Oh, because you only time when you could possibly record a podcast with children is when they're sleeping.
Ugh, yeah, it's exhausting. But here we are.
All right, you ready for? I almost said sponsor the
You
life.
keep doing that. Jeez.
Are you ready to approach the news desk?
I am ready to approach the news
desk. What do you
desk.
got?
Okay, so this first article isn't too exciting. It's actually just I keep finding like Reddit threads like commentary. I don't know why this is on a Fox News page for lifestyle information, but it says a man is in hot water with his family for teaching teen daughter to gut a fish. It's a life skill, he says.
Yeah.
Dad compared gutting a fish to other key skills such as cooking and cleaning and forced girl to do it. Now others are angry. So
What?
a little bit, I'm kind of like, I there are no words.
I mean, it's a little gross, but it is a life skill.
It's a little gross, but it's also not that big a deal. I also feel like it's not that big a deal if you are... Okay, I grew up in a family where my dad hunted and fished, and it's not that big of a deal. You clean the animal after you kill it, right?
Yeah, yep.
Not that big a deal. I used to watch my dad clean pheasants. I used to watch my dad clean anything that he hunted. I went deer hunting with him, but I never actually watched him clean it out before he brought it to the processor.
Sure, yeah.
But, I mean, it's part of hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I guess I kind of see where some people are like, yeah, you're a terrible father. I don't see that where they're a terrible father. No. I think maybe just discuss this firsthand. So a guy took to Reddit and said that he wanted to know if it was bad for him to have made his older daughter learn how to gut a fish. So he's a 38-year-old man, and he has 2 daughters who are 13 and 10.
So they're not even like little.
No, they're not. They're not like 5-year-olds. They're one's a teenager, and he took his 13-year-old, which, okay, that's fine. Not that big a deal. Yeah. She's 13. So he says, I had a lot of I learned a lot of life skills growing up, and he said he and his wife are continuing that tradition. So we have been working on teaching them a lot of life skills like cooking, cleaning, car maintenance. And he said he is working on having his daughter get hands-on experience as his younger daughter does as well. So they recently went camping, and he had his daughter make the fire and set up the tent. Okay. No big deal.
Pretty
it's
basic.
A family camping experience. Not that big of a deal. And he said you got to get the feel for it as his daughter was getting ready to do this. He said they went fishing but didn't catch anything. So he said he went out and bought a few whole fish, not gutted. So he said, we live on the ocean. This is a life skill. It's common to buy a fish whole. He then wanted to teach his daughter to gut the fish because they eat the fish.
Right. That's what you got to do.
He took the fish back, and he was going to teach her how to process a fish. He said his daughter was grossed out, and he said, but I made her do it anyway, and we cooked it. He continued, she went to my wife and told her that I forced her to gut a fish. This resulted in the man posting on Reddit and asking, am I a jerk for making my daughter learn how to gut a fish? We are forced to learn how to cook and do laundry, so I don't see the difference in, learning how to gut a fish. I think this is making a mountain out of a molehill that does not even relatively exist. First of all, you don't need to ask for validation from your Reddit friends.
Yep, that's just weird. Was his wife mad?
Apparently his wife was angry.
Oh.
And apparently all of the internet was angry too because you're a jerk for making your daughter gut a fish. I mean, boys and girls are different. I would never make my daughter gut a fish.
No, I think if you would be okay with forcing your son to learn it, then you should be okay with forcing your daughter.
If you're really standing by the whole, it's an important life skill to know. It doesn't matter the gender of your child. You can teach that. I mean, it's like if you live on a farm and you know you have to cull the chickens or you're going to be processing them for meat. It doesn't matter if it's mom or dad or teenager helping you do it. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or girl. Just you kill the chicken so you can get your meat birds. Like,
I feel like there's so many different layers to this. So the first is like, is teaching your kid or forcing them to do something they don't want to do is that bad parenting. And I don't think so, because this is not a...
Oh, no, but that's what our modern culture would have you believe.
Well, and the other piece of it is like we live in such a grocery store
We're such a cushy
world.
society.
Well, and it's like...
There's no difficulty for us.
We like the little processed thing wrapped in saran wrap on a little styrofoam
Which is actually
tray.
truly, let's be honest, scarier than just going out and getting it yourself and killing it.
Yeah, like, well, and that's what I mean. We're losing some of those skills that I think are still very valuable skills, and we have so separated ourselves from the reality that what's on the grocery store shelf is a dead animal, and it's like the world does not want to give up eating meat. We don't want to stop eating dead animals, but we do not want any kind of indication or reminder that it is in fact a dead animal. And it just, I don't know. I just think that the separation, it's like, guys, no, that there's nothing wrong.
I think it's ridiculous.
Yes, it's sort of a brutal thing to like gut a fish or to gut any kind of animal, but it's like, but that's what happens
Literally,
for the bologna slices,
cushy lifestyle
or the
that we
sliced
live
ham, or
right
the
in 2023. You go back not even that long ago, and people who are living out like you clean your fish, you eat your food,
and some people still do.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, I see the merit in it, and honestly, I'm like appalled that this is something that people are getting contentious over.
I understand if one of the parents, like let's say he was screaming at her, or the method of forcing her to do something maybe was less gentle than he needed to be, and I can understand mom being upset about that. I know, like, I have moments when I'm like trying to get the boys to do something like clean or whatever, and maybe I yell or maybe I lose my temper, and then it's like, okay, that wasn't great, and you approach me and you tell me, and it's like that's part of like parenting and working together. But this is more about like the thing that he had her doing, not like how he did it. He might have been perfectly polite and it wasn't a big deal. She did it and he didn't yell or scold or anything. It's just what they were doing some people think is gross.
Yeah.
I'm not on board at all with the gender thing of like, well, she's a girl so she doesn't have to do it. It's like, oh no, that's ridiculous.
I don't know. I think and like I said, I am coming from a family where, there was hunting and fishing and all sorts of stuff. And you clean the animal after you're done. So I don't see it as that big of a deal. But maybe people who don't grow up around that, or who are like horrified about, I don't know.
I'm not saying I want to like go back to the farming ways of the past. Although a little bit, I want us to just recognize, I would love to be a little bit more self-sufficient. Yeah. Well, and I just want people to stop acting like the thing appears by magic on the grocery store shelf.
It's you know difficult. What I mean? Like, you have to work for it.
Be aware of what happens. And I think it's okay for children to know that. It's like, well, the cow goes to sleep and then it magically transforms into a bird. It's like
your happy meal.
No, it's like this is a reality of the world, right? Yeah. And I think it's okay to sort of have children know that. It reminds me a lot of, do you remember that Duck Dynasty TV show where there was like the grandpa and he had I think it was one of his grandsons had like a girlfriend and he like taught them how to gut a fish.
I do remember.
He didn't make them do it. He did it in front of them though. Yeah. And they were like, this is so gross. Can you believe he's doing this in front of us? It was like, and he was like, this is a life skill. You need to learn how to do this. What are you going to do? Survive on love? No, you'll starve. You got to, and they made jokes about it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like some people, that's a way of life. People hunt and they hunt not for sport, but to actually utilize the animal. Yeah. And fishing is part of that.
Yeah. So. Honestly, I think if you're of all the things that you're killing and skinning and gutting, fish are probably the least offensive. Like, it's not that big a deal.
I've never cleaned a fish myself, but I've seen it done a bunch. Every time I go fishing, I'm trying to think of.
We went on a charter with my dad and like all the guys last year in May.
They paid a guy to do it, but I stood right there and watched him.
But you watch them clean them after you get in.
And I think if I'm remembering right, he even let me do one. Right? He was like, "Here's how you do it. Here's where you make the cut." And but I thought it was a fun thing. I was like, "I want to do this." Yeah. And I can understand a kid being like, "This is too gross. I don't want to do it." But it's like there are some chores. It's like, it's gross. You still have to do it. That's how it works. You got to pick up the dog poop. And you got to mow the lawn or whatever.
I have so little patience for the people who are like, ew, that's gross.
Ew,
but really, it's
nature.
all about like the appearance of ew, it's gross. It's not actually gross. It's like I have to make it seem like it's really gross because I can't do this, and I have zero tolerance for that. I'm sorry, it's not that big a deal.
I just think we are too grossed out by the world, so much so that it's like, how do you expect to function as a human being?
Yeah. Fine,
I feel that way.
Eat some lettuce and don't eat fish.
I feel that way about dads who won't change diapers. It's like, come on, man, man up
Don't
and
even get me
change.
started.
Like, oh, it's too gross. Like, why do men get a pass at that? Like, it's like if you are grossed out by a dead fish or by a dead animal, you're like not masculine. But for some reason, you get a pass if it's a diaper. Like, I don't understand it. Man up, change that diaper.
Yeah, I don't believe in these gender stereotypes, but man up and put that diaper on that kid. Okay, Dad.
Come on.
Okay.
All right. Influencer jumps into alligator enclosure for a Steve Irwin style social media stunt.
I heard about this and I was so curious.
Oh my
what
gosh.
happened to this person?
Nothing. That's what almost makes me
Where
even
was it?
more angry. So, influencer Jacob Percival, he's 20 years old. He was arrested after he shared a dangerous video of himself jumping into an alligator pit at Tampa's Busch Gardens in Florida in May. So this is actually just like the end of May. He did this. A U.S. influencer has been arrested after he trespassed into an alligator enclosure. So he did get arrested.
Okay, good.
But
Never mind your own safety.
But nothing happened. That was the part. It
What
almost
was
like
the goal
annoyed
here?
me. He jumps in and he like videotapes himself doing the classic Steve Irwin voice, right? Like it's a really heavy Australian accent, you know, crikey and all that.
Oh my
and he does
gosh.
this video and he's really close to alligators. I mean, he's like 6 feet away from them. They're in the water. He's just up on the grass a little bit. He's really close. And it's like a zoo, right?
Yeah, I know.
And so everybody's on the fence and there are a ton of people around and they're all calling. They're like, please come back over here. This is not safe. They're all like yelling at him like, don't do this thing.
This is a bad idea.
But what's annoying to me is that nothing like I'm not saying that I wish harm had befallen him.
Man, it's too bad his arm didn't get
just
bitten off.
maybe a little
A little bit of
alligator
natural
snip,
consequences
you know?
for your stupidity.
Maybe just like he rips his pant leg or something, you know, like as he jumps and squeals and jumps over the fence again.
Squeals. 20-year-old influencer squeals after being scratched by alligator for jumping fence.
I was watching Beethoven recently and Stanley Tucci, the way he squeals when the
true.
dog
That
goes after.
scream was priceless.
Anyways, so I was annoyed that nothing bad happened to him. Like he climbed out, he finished his video, climbed out, big stunt, worked amazingly. He's all over the news. He's now,
Of course, now
bigger
he's
and
even
famouser.
Bigger, famouser. That's a word.
Yeah, totally. So that, but then he got arrested, and so I am glad to see that there was some
consequence. for
Yeah,
this
because
ridiculous-
because if you get away with it and he only benefits and he gets more famous, more people are gonna do dumb stuff
Oh
like
my
that. You know what I mean? The
And someone's
20-year-old
gonna
from
get hurt.
Louisiana, U.S. was seen alongside two of his friends who also pretended to be stuck in a fake. So they made another video where they pretended to be stuck in a fake roller coaster seat before he then stole a snack from a shop. So basically, they went around Busch Gardens and just made a bunch of videos of
being
them.
awful.
Yeah, being terrible. Then he headed over to the alligator exhibit, hopped over 2 fences that separate the general public from the deadly animals, which are reportedly up to 15 feet long and weigh around 1,000 pounds.
Whoa.
So, anyways, they caught him. The lad took his camera over with him, began filming himself with the reptiles, doing a bad impression of beloved Australian zookeeper Steve Irwin, who was killed by a stingray in 2006.
That was already 2006.
I know. That was when I graduated from high school.
Oh, I was already graduated,
Yeah.
but
Multiple do not enter signs are visible in the video. The clip since prompted a response from the Tampa police, whose spokesperson said in a statement the video was then uploaded to social media sites. Do not do this. A man hopped the barrier around an alligator exhibit. So there's him making the video, like holding the cell phone in his own hand. That's his video.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of videos of people on the fence videoing him videoing
Recording
himself,
him,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Except for this
he got arrested right away.
ridiculous
2
person.
misdemeanor counts of trespassing and petite theft, a second-degree felony of burglary of an occupied structure. The felony, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal, yeah.
So anyways, the spokesperson for the amusement park thanked the police for arresting the lad. Speaking to Fox 13, they said, "We are thankful to hear that the individuals involved in illegally entering one of our animals' habitats recently has been arrested and are facing charges for their dangerous action. The safety and well-being of our guests, ambassadors, and animals is a top priority. And we're very grateful to law enforcement, and particularly the Tampa Police Department and their law enforcement partners for their swift action."
Wow.
So more TikTokers doing TikToking.
Oh my gosh. And this is why I don't have a TikTok, and this is why I don't watch TikTok, and I've never used the app, and I have zero regrets. And my life is better for it.
I have a TikTok, but I wouldn't support someone who's doing illegal stuff for fun, for clicks. That bums me out. And I'm really glad to see he got punished. Because
oh my gosh,
the first story I read was just, hey, crazy guy jumped a fence. And it was like,
awful.
Oh my gosh. And he got away. Didn't even get a nip, But it is nice to see justice done.
Justice is served. Oh boy. Okay, so this one is interesting. Horse gets help climbing basement stairs after a window well fall. A horse fell into a window well.
So like those windows that are like next to the house and they have the dugout part?
Yep. And it fell into a window well and became stranded in an Illinois basement. Oh. Received guidance from animal rescuers to ascend a narrow stairwell.
The horse got trapped in the basement?
Yeah.
How does that
happen? Apparently a large animal rescue team from Missouri was called on a 250-mile round trip when an 8-year-old horse fell into an egress window in Illinois and became trapped in the basement of a home.
Now, you know more about horses than I do. Is 8 years old, or is that like...
Not really.
That's like babies?
Not baby, but it's a younger horse. Okay. Horses can live fairly long.
I don't know. Are they like dogs? Is it like 15, 20 years for a horse or more?
They live a little longer than that.
I don't know.
But I'm shocked. So I wonder why they called a large animal rescue. Maybe that was the closest large animal rescue team.
Boy.
They drove from Missouri to Illinois. I mean, I guess that's not that far, but I mean, there's a state in between, right?
Oh, that's a lot.
But a veterinarian was also called to the scene and determined that the horse had sustained some small cuts but no serious injuries. So they prepared the stairs and helped the horse and stabilized him to bring him up the stairs. I can't imagine a horse would be able to do stairs very well, just the way their body weight is distributed. That would be incredibly difficult. They had to walk slowly and carefully through the kitchen and out the sliding door onto a patio.
Oh.
That's such a weird...
really sweet. I really like that story.
I mean, it is a very narrow stairwell.
A horse fell into a basement.
The horse. So that's the egress window. So the window's down.
Okay,
the horse ended up in the basement.
Oh, stuck.
And so they had to. This is a very narrow stairwell.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's like a curve, like an L curve.
Oh my gosh.
So the horse has to navigate that and then head up. And I'm sure it's probably terrified, so they're having to guide it.
They have to calm it down.
Yeah. And it's been stuck down there, so it's probably
how long
already.
Was it down there?
It doesn't say how long it was down there.
Well, I gotta imagine at least hours and hours.
At least long enough for that team to drive up to Illinois, help it, and then I was like, that's a crazy story. Can you imagine being like,
a horse is in my house?
A horse fell into the window and is in my basement.
I assume it's the person's horse, right? Like it would be super weird if it was like my neighbor's horse fell into my basement.
Hey, there's a random horse in my basement. I mean, you hear about stories like alligator in basement, snake found in basement.
Yeah, but those are like small, slimy, slithery things.
Horses aren't that small.
Big. Wow, that's true. Alligators.
But I can't imagine a horse. Wow. A horse fell in my window. What? I'm sorry. Were you caught inside of a tornado in the middle of Kansas? And
I love it though. I love that like they drove up and they had to guide it up.
Yeah, and guided it up the stairs. I just was like, oh, this poor horse.
All right, so this story is nuts. It's woman in car mouths "help me" to a South Carolina officer, leading to the arrest of the passenger who was holding her hostage.
Whoa.
Right? Imagine you're sitting at a stoplight and you look over and the woman in the car goes, "Help me."
That's
like mouths,
horror movie
like
style.
Oh my gosh. A suspect connected to a shooting was detained, and a woman in North Myrtle Beach in South Carolina was rescued by police after mouthing the words "help me" during a traffic stop, authorities said. In a Facebook post, the Myrtle Beach Police Department said Officer Kayla Wallace was patrolling North Myrtle Beach around 5:30 a.m. on May 28th when she saw a white Jeep run a red light at an intersection. After pulling the car over, she noticed the male passenger appeared distressed, and the female driver was silently and repeatedly mouthing "help me," according to the Facebook post. Police said that Wallace took the male passenger out of the car and into her patrol vehicle. Wallace returned to the car where the driver told her the male passenger had just shot someone. Moments later, the police dispatch issued a message to be on the lookout for a vehicle that was involved in a shooting elsewhere in the county. The vehicle's description and the suspect description matched the male passenger.
Whoa.
So the call hadn't even gone out yet, and she's already got the guy in her backseat.
That is crazy.
Because, so it was a WBTW News. That's tricky to say. WBTW. Reported 29-year-old Collins Bates was arrested and remains detained. He is facing charges of attempted murder, kidnapping, and possession of a weapon during a violent crime in connection with the shooting. An unlawfully carried pistol was also found under his seat.
Wow.
So there was a shooting, and he fled, jumps in this lady's car and says, "Drive!" Like in a movie, points a gun and says,
That's
"Go!"
Crazy.
And then they get pulled over, and he tucks the gun under the seat, and he's like, "Just act normal, just get through this." And the lady looks at the cop and says, "Help me!" And
it's like a movie.
oh
really.
my gosh, right?
That's crazy.
But they were apparently, what's really cool is that, so this police officer Kayla, she Officer Kayla Wallace, it was the final half hour of her shift. The guy ran a red light.
It's 5:30 in the morning. She
could have totally just
6.
she could have just let it go. I'm going back to the precinct or whatever. So they commended her not only for bringing this guy in, but also being on the job until she's not on the job.
Not just finishing, but finishing.
Yeah, and it's wow, good for her.
That's crazy cool.
I thought it was a little spooky, a little bit
oh
it gives
what would
you.
you do if you drove past someone and they were and you're like, was that person for real? Or
I feel like I would second guess myself. I'd be like, I think I saw something. Nah, that's crazy.
I always do that,
you know, and
where
then you
think you see something and then you just write it off. It's like, oh no, that's just
in movies where they're like you watching, you see everything, and you're like, how can these people be so dumb not to see the super obvious thing? But I think in reality, I would be that person.
We just pass.
I would just be like,
Yep.
There's a thump in the other room, and it's just like, huh, that was a weird noise, instead of
jumped off the.
And it's like, why aren't you getting up to investigate that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, because I don't feel like getting up off the couch.
Mm-hmm. Yep, reality.
I don't know. I just that was a crazy story.
That is.
All right, you ready for Sponsor Your Life?
I am. So this past week, we went for a little drive. We were hoping to make it to the Saginaw Farmers Market.
That was a bust.
We did. And got out of the car after loading and driving for 20 minutes with all 4 children.
Yep.
Only to unload and find that there were 3 actual vendors at the farmers market.
I felt so bad. It was so sad.
They weren't selling anything that was even remotely interesting. I was baffled and kind of disillusioned because I was like, man, I didn't realize how good the Flint Farmers Market was.
It's amazing. The Flint Farmers Market is incredible, and I kind of thought we'd have something like that. Say what you will about
Flint, but their farmers market is
awesome.
Pretty choice.
The inside of the Saginaw Farmers Market was much nicer, but outside they had all these tables. It was like, wow, there could be 30 vendors here.
There could be more than 30. They had so many tables pushed to the side,
but there were 3.
Yeah.
3, and one of them wasn't even a thing. It was like you walk up and they were still unloading, and there was just nothing.
It was just very sad.
It was really sparse.
That was not sponsored.
No, that was the sad part.
Instead, you had a great idea to search for a park for the boys, and you had this great park in mind by this coffee shop that you always go to.
Iron Grind Coffee in Auburn. So, and I think you've even talked about them before on the podcast. I talked about how good they were.
Right, so we drove up to Auburn, which was 20 minutes because it's past where we live.
Yeah,
Saginaw's down and over, and we were,
it's a lot of driving.
North. It was, but we got to this playground, and as we're pulling up, we see craft fair today, and it is the
Bam.
Auburn Farmers Market Pavilion.
Yes.
With an amazing, it literally saved our morning. Like, we were starting
kids
to
were
get really frustrated.
cranky.
They
Yep.
were like, why are we going
Mom and
in
Dad
there
are getting a little
fun?
cranky.
Right. So parked for the kids, craft fair, live, like bluegrass music, like
yeah.
awesome stuff. And
Free hot
we got free hot dogs. So I was pretty excited. I love supporting local businesses. I love local farmers markets. I love stuff like that.
Craft fairs. We got
Craft
some
fairs.
blueberry jalapeno
We
jam.
did. It was very good. And the boys got some cake pops, but it was a nice little thing. And that was just their like kickoff craft fair. Like, that's not even the beginning of their farmers
that's not
market.
even the farmers market. Yeah.
So I'm very excited, and we'll be frequenting a much closer. It's literally only 11 minutes away to get there from here.
It's closer than Saginaw is.
And a much better farmers market. I'm assuming, considering how well run it was, their PR seemed good. They had a great space, just a lot of good like community, chamber of commerce type like organization and stuff. So I have a lot of hope for that. And so sponsoring my life this weekend was the Auburn Farmers Market. And shout out to Auburn, Michigan, because they got a good thing going on there. It seems like a good
It's
area.
a cute town. They do some cool stuff over there. I like going over there. Haven't been enough. I haven't gone over there very much. There's not a lot of reason for me to be there. I just like the town.
It's nice.
The playground was what I was aiming at, and we got there, and I was like,
and the kids still got to play there.
There's a giant craft
It was.
fair. Also, it saved the
cool.
morning.
It really did. It was a good morning. So.
All right. Well, you stole mine. No,
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
That could be
was
sponsoring both our lives.
It
that
was
a great weekend.
You know what else though is sponsoring my life is music jam sessions. Right? Like that is just so much fun. And so we play worship music. You sing and play, and I sing and play. We kind of mix it up with instruments. I switch around to whatever instruments are needed. This past week at worship band practice, a ton of people were missing. The people got caught up at work. They couldn't make it. They were sick. They were out of town. So there were very few of us there. And so we went practice through the songs, but then we like rotated instruments, and it was like, how about you do the drums and I'll do the guitar, and then we switch, and it was really fun, And then we had another person come to pick him up. So the one guy, Joshua, his girlfriend came to pick him up, and it was like, hey, you want to jump on a microphone? And we like redid a couple songs, just for fun, And I have always enjoyed that all my life, ever since like going way back to college when we would worship and practice for dorm worship, right? Way back. And it was like we would practice and we're like, we're ready for dorm worship. Everything is set. Do you guys want to keep playing? And then we would just keep going, and we'd either play the same song over or just do new songs. And I love jamming. I love playing music with people. We do it in the house all the time. I bring my guitar home, and
kids love it.
I love watching Asher dance every time I start playing my guitar. I don't know. Music is such a fun thing, and if you get a couple of really talented musicians, I've only hung out with like probably 5 or 6 of these people in my life who are like those kind of savants where they can like swap any instrument, and it's a lot of fun because I'm not great on much, like I'm okay on different instruments, but I have a lot of fun doing that. I love to mix it up. All right, I'll try the drum set, and I'll play the bass, and I'll do some keyboard work, and that's just fun, and so I just really enjoy that, and that's been sponsoring my life this week. Nice. All right, so now it's time for our second half of the podcast. I'm not going to come up with segment names anymore. Okay, so now it's time for our Father's Day segment. Father's Day is coming up in just a few days after this podcast drops, and so we wanted to talk about it. And initially, we thought we'd do similar to what we did with Mother's Day. It was like, what are some goofy church ideas for Father's Day? But then I opened up the article, and we can go through these, but a lot of them are very similar to Mother's Day.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I think the critiques are very similar as well. Like the problems with it is both ways.
Yep.
But I also found this really great article from a group called Evergreen Psychotherapy Center, the Evergreen Psychotherapy Center, on the importance of fatherhood, like the psychological benefits of fatherhood. And so I wanted to talk about that as well.
So benefits for dad or benefits for family?
Mostly for family, but also for dad. Like it's for all of us. So first, let's talk about the cheesy church stuff real quick. Father's Day ideas for church. from reachrightstudios.com.
Should I be taking notes so we can do this for our church?
Yes,
Okay.
we have to do all these things. 13 fantastic Father's Day ideas. All right. So first, Father's Day breakfast.
Of course, just like the Mother's Day breakfast.
Yep, just got to have a brunch. I mean, it's not a bad idea. Food is always an awesome way to celebrate.
But mom serves dad breakfast every day
All
of
the
the year.
time, right? Well, yeah, dad makes his own breakfast, whatever. But yeah, breakfast, Father's Day testimonies, just like the Mother's Day one. And I don't mind dads talking about how great dadding is. I just think with testimonies, you get like, you're putting a guy up front, and again, it's not bad for a dad to talk about how great it is to be a dad or whatever, share his story. It just doesn't belong in worship. It's not a worship
Unless
thing.
it's like significantly tied to some part of the service, or it's integral to some part of the sermon or something.
Yeah,
But
but just putting
know.
a panel of dads up, there was I
have
remember
like
that
a men's night where men share
There you
their
go.
testimonies. Like
I think this okay, so I think that would be fun if you did a Sunday night activity or
Yeah,
a Saturday night activity
sure.
or something that was a separate men's thing that would fit.
Mm-hmm.
I just have this thing about making Sunday morning about God.
oh, yeah.
I know that's such
Really
a crazy
the only father
idea.
we need to be talking about.
So the rest of the stuff is like, it's some of these things are really cute. I love celebrating dads, but let's do it on a different day or a different time. So honorary awards, Father of the Year, Best Dad, Best Belcher, Best whatever,
Again, appropriate for the men's breakfast or dinner.
I think I'd like a Saturday men's Father's Day breakfast would be a fun time to do a lot of this stuff. Family photo booth, of course,
Yes.
because that's,
Gotta capitalize on those Instagram posts.
I think this one's actually cute. A dad's choir or a dad's band performance.
I like that better than the mother's band. Like that was also recommended for the moms.
Yeah, was it? I think as long as it's a worship song, that's fun. Go ahead. Father-child bonding activities.
That should be happening in your family anyways, regularly. I hope.
Customized gifts, outdoor picnic, a prayer for fathers. I like that one. Do you remember the Mother's Day where it was like you donate to a cause, you take a special offering for a service that helps mothers? I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Father's Day video montage. Even though I have done those in the past.
I was going to say we did those for...
I don't think that's great. Sports Day. Okay. Leaning into those stereotypes.
I was going to say, what if those men aren't into sports?
I love sports ball. Barbecue cook-off. Sure. Dedicated song.
Dinner.
Same deal,
Yep.
So those are the 13 Father's Day ideas for churches.
Wow.
Cute. They're not bad. Many of them do not belong on a Sunday morning.
No,
but
they're great for like some sort of men's event or have like a men's retreat weekend or something and celebrate Father's Day and all that stuff. And
honestly, I think that takes the pressure off of Father's Day Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It's like, no, don't worry about that. All right, but what I really want to talk about is the importance of fathers. Evergreen Psychotherapy Center, talking about attachment treatment. Now, this article is very in-depth and it's full of research and all this stuff, so I am going to skim because we don't have time for all that. But we spend a lot of time talking about mothers as primary early attachment figures. But after celebrating fathers this month, we want to stress dad's essential role during infancy in fostering secure attachment. So they talk about, for the first little bit, they talk about how way back, there's obviously a primary attachment to mom. Mom feeds baby. I mean, that's kind of the trump card. You really can't compete with that. But for a long time, dad was not around, right?
Yeah.
Dad was protector. Dad was hunter. Dad was off at work. And so that has shifted in the last maybe 100 or so years where dads have become far more nurturing, and we play a role in the infancy. And so it says, more recently, we've come to realize that fathers are capable of caring for and attaching to their children. Mothers possess qualities that place them in the role of the primary attachment figure, such as breastfeeding ability, and after all that promote caregiving. Although fathers are not as biologically or culturally primed, they are capable of the same behaviors in attachment to children. The sight of their newborn triggers a similar range of loving behaviors, including protection, giving, and responsiveness to an infant's needs. One of the things I thought was really fun was they talked about the difference in physical touch between a dad and a mom. Physical touch between mom and child is often very caring. Physical touch between dad is often provocative, and it stirs up a child. A child has physical contact with mom, they cuddle in, they become calmer. They have physical touch with dad, they get more agitated and excited and they're more playful. And I think that's a 100, at least that's been in our experience.
That's
Absolutely.
spot on.
So a father's self-confidence increases as he handles a baby and his parenting instincts emerge, and so does his level of commitment. So the more involved you are when your kid's an infant, it boosts your confidence as a dad, but it also increases your capacity. Like you have instincts that get unlocked, which I thought was really cool. Unfortunately, the problem of absent fathers continues to grow, producing long-term damage to children. Considering the following data, this is U.S. Census Bureau.
Okay.
1968, about 60 million U.S. children under 18 lived with two parents. So that was 85% of children were in two-parent homes. Now that number is down to 51.3 million, which is 70%.
Whoa.
Although a 70% is still really
That's
high.
still higher than I thought it would be.
Me too. I did not think. So I think that's great, but obviously it's sad that that number's going down.
Yeah.
1986, the United States became the leader in fatherless families, passing Sweden. We have about 7.6 million children.
Football.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We have 15.3 million children. 21% of kids in 2020 live in fatherless homes. And that's really a bummer.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. And America's the number one country for that. We are the worst at having dad in the house. There are a number of negative effects of a father's absence on a family in reference to psychosocial adjustment and development of children. It's just, and I mean, it goes into a ton of detail, but it's just having dad around is just better.
Yeah.
You know, if it can be done, it's just better.
It makes sense.
A lot of it actually was moms are amazing and they can do almost everything, but having a partner to do the other stuff, you know, like single parent homes are some of the lowest incomes in the country, right? Like that means children have less when you have only one parent in the home. And that is really rough. Children living with their mothers are often exposed to violence or conflict between parents, whether current or historical. Overt hostility between parents is associated with child behavioral problems, childhood aggression, all that stuff. But, so that's kind of the sad. I didn't want to focus on that. When men do care for their children, they tend to interact with, nurture, and generally rear children competently. Competently, but differently than women.
Yeah.
I
can see that.
I'm so glad they have to clarify that. They say not worse, not better, but differently. So this is what I was talking about. Mothers typically hold their infants in a relaxed or quiet manner, whereas fathers more often activate or stimulate their infants prior to holding them close. This trait leads to more playful and novel interaction over time. Here's what I thought was really interesting. Fathers tend to encourage their babies to solve physical and intellectual challenges, even past the signs of frustrations. Mothers encourage exploration, but are more apt to help the child once frustration is apparent. So mom says, go do it. But if the kid's having a hard time, mom's going to go help him out. Dad says, go do it. Kid's having a hard time. Keep trying. Like dad pushes more. And that's, I think that's helpful. And I do find that in myself. I don't know. I do think maybe you step in to help him out. And I'm like, no, he can do this. Like, keep trying.
That's interesting. I think just instinctually that whole nurturing caregiver aspect is the biggest reason for that. Because, like, just as an example, like as a mom who breastfeeds and unbreastfeed has always breastfed on demand. Like if my kid is ever fussy, I don't even question why they're fussy or like wait to figure out what's the problem. I just nurse them because that usually calms them down like 99% of the time.
Yep. Well, and part of that is I don't have that option.
Right. That's true.
And so I have to look past it and solve the problem. Like if you are not available.
Yeah, obviously.
Fathers are important and highly valued attachment figures in many families. And what I like about this article is it's a medical article. So they are listing who ran the study and what year the study was run and all that. But they found that the more actively involved the 6-month-old had been with a father, the higher the baby scored on infant development scales. So if you hang out with your, not the kid when he's all grown up, or even the kid when he's learning stuff, but a 6-month-old infant, fathers interacting with babies regularly scoots them way up on the charts. Just hang out with your baby, hold your babies.
Time with your children.
The children clearly related to their fathers as an attachment figure who served as a secure base, and they do better.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's scientifically like verified in just about every psychological study they've done. Mom is primary. Mom is the biggest one. That's a huge deal. Okay, credit where credit's due. Mad props to moms. But dad is like this massive added piece that really, really helps.
That's interesting.
Although fathers are usually secondary caregivers, they are not merely secondary mothers. They provide valuable stimulation and playfulness and serve as a stepping stone to the outside world where people are commonly not in sync and attuned. They facilitate the child's ability, especially sons, to move outside the mother's orbit. They provide role models for their sons and invaluable models to daughters regarding their relationships with men. That was from a study in 1997. So it's like a complementing skill, basically.
Yeah.
Dad, you need them both as much as possible. And I always want to give like a caveat. I understand not everybody has a 2-parent home like that. There are tragedies out there that keep that from happening. And I think that's where like the church family can really step up, because there can be that role model figure who's like a Sunday school teacher or a worship leader, or, someone who connects with your kid and gives that fatherly stimulation. Fathers and mothers influence their children in similar ways. Warmth, nurturance, I didn't know that was a word, and closeness are associated with well-adjusted and healthy children, whether the caregiver is the mother or the father. Characteristics of individual fathers are much less important than the quality of the relationship established. So it doesn't matter what type of dude you are. Just the quality of your connection to your kid. Like, you don't have to be hyper masculine or super smart.
Sure.
It's just the connection to
Spend
your
time.
kid. That's
Yep.
what really matters. Because when you do that, the quality of the relationships have children who have secure, supportive, reciprocal, and sensitive relationships with their fathers or mothers do better on every measure. The amount of time fathers and children spend together is less important than the quality of their time together.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Fathers play multiple roles in the family: nurturing parent, protector, disciplinarian, breadwinner, emotional partner, and playmate. Fathers affect their children's development and adjustment based on their success in all of these roles. So it's like, moms are, and again, the article, like, I skipped over all those times.
Yeah,
it said how important moms are, but they are. Moms are so important, but dads are a big deal. And I love that bit about how you don't have, it doesn't matter if you're like the smartest or the best or the fastest or strongest. Just be there with your kids and love them and support them. And that gives them a massive leg up all by itself, right? Like, I think a lot of parents stress about, I got to make sure my kid has the best tools to make sure that they're amazing and they're out there. And it's like,
Honestly,
okay,
spending time
the
with
best
them
one, just be there. Just be with your kid. And be there early, like not just when they're old enough to like learn how to ride a bike, but when they're 6 months old
from the beginning.
Yeah. And it also, what I didn't realize is that it unlocks parenting instincts that are dormant in a lot of men.
Cool.
I thought that was really cool. I was like, whoa, we have skills.
So when guys are like, I can't do that, I'm the dad, that's not my thing. It's like, you just need to spend more time with your kid.
Just do it.
And you can.
Just try it. You would be surprised what it will unlock in you. And so anyways, mad shout out to dads. We love dads. It feels a little weird that I'm the one saying that.
Yeah, that is. I should have found this article and been the one that's leading that discussion.
Dads are so awesome, he said.
How awesome am I?
I do, and I do love being a dad. I don't think I do it particularly well. I'm trying, but I definitely have my shortcomings, big shortcomings. But I love being a dad, and I have grown, like, I almost said the word oodles.
Oodles. We've grown oodles. Oodles of noodles. It's true.
Really
I mean,
awesome.
I think everybody does. The longer you're a parent, hopefully if you're learning from the experience and spending time with your kids, you're growing. Okay, that was cool. I like that article. That was very interesting.
Yeah, and I'll post it in the show notes maybe if I don't forget.
Maybe you'll forget.
All right, you ready to send us out with the mom joke of the week?
I am.
Wait, before that, let me say thank you so much to Music Town for the use of our theme song. If you guys want to check us out and send out the carrier pigeons and tell everyone about this amazing podcast where the guy talks way too much.
It's true, he does. It says 1,000 times.
I do. I cannot help that. Actually, I was about to make the joke that like nobody listens to our podcast, but this past week, our podcast, the metrics went off the chart. A bunch of people found our podcast and started listening. We got more downloads last week than we got in the last like 2 months.
Oh,
you
wow.
know? Yeah, it was just bonkers. And it messed up my normalcy rate. Like you can actually track the data.
Track that.
And it's like, oh, we're just going along and we're doing good. And then it's just like huge amounts of downloads. And it's like, wait, what's happening?
That's crazy.
So to all our new listeners, hi, we love you. Thank you. It doesn't get better. It's just this. This is it.
This is what it is.
All right. Now are you ready for the mom joke of the week?
I am.
Go for it.
All right. So why are elephants so wrinkly?
Because they're old? I don't know.
Because you can't iron them.
I was waiting to like see if there was a pun or a joke in there that was bad. Nope, it's just you.
It's that bad. I think your reaction was the best thing of all.
I like how bad it was. It was so bad.